Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 of Chem 150. And previously in week 1 and 2, week 2 at least, we learned about the valence orbitals, and the valence electrons, and how it ties to how to easily identify the valence electrons for a particular element from the periodic table, how it ties to the periodic table, that Roman numeral. Because keep in mind, you won't have a lot of time every time to dig deep and find out how I have to write the whole electronic configuration. Well, sometimes it's not that easy. And third, we learned about ions, and how to predict the charge, that is we said sodium will be +1 because it is in 1A, and we said calcium would be +2 because it's in 2A, etc., etc. And then finally we were able to rewrite electronic configuration. So there was a lot of material, we did cover. It seemed like we went through it pretty quick, but we did covered all this in depth. Rewrite electronic configuration for ions, and then we wrapped it up with writing boxed electronic configuration. So this is the level of material that we covered in week 2 of our course. Now for week 3, we're going to step up the game. Week 3. First, we are going to again re-identify. We've already done this, but identify the metals and non-metals in the periodic table. It's not going to take very long. I am not going to hover around this for too long because we're only identifying metals and non-metals, so that shouldn't take us very long. Second, we're going to use the Roman numerals, use the Roman numerals in periodic table. I'm going to call it PD, to identify ions for elements, to identify ions. C, then we are going to start combining, positives and negatives, positive and negative ions. Well, you will also quickly see that sometimes you may not actually have a positive ion, but just two things combining together that does not have a charge of any kind. All right, we'll get to that, and then we're going to start talking about the various types of bonds that are available. The first one that springs to my mind is ionic. The second one is covalent, and the third one is, most common ones are the ones we're going to discuss in the class. There's metallic. And then we are going to go into naming those compounds. This is going to take a chunk of our time, and it's important. And in the highly recommended, normally if you watch my videos, the videos that I create are the closest thing to being in a classroom. Okay, it will never replace a classroom experience, but this is the closest thing that's going to get you from a distant location to being in a classroom. Okay, so highly recommend you only focus on the primary resources, but for week 3 alone I'll have secondary resources, but that are titled as highly recommended. This is because there are some games in there that you can actually go and play different type of games to name compounds, identify compounds, and it also gives you flashcards on how these compounds are tied into the idea of medicine. Okay, you may be in any one of the areas of medicine: nursing, pharmacy, physiotherapist, radiologist. You may be in any one of those areas, but or you may not even be in medicine, but still gives you a good idea on how these compounds, whether ionic, covalent, tie into our daily life, probably in the medicines that we consume. Okay, so I do highly recommend you do it, because not only it gives you a more real world look into it, but it's also a great practice because it's got matching games, quizzes, flashcards, and all sorts of stuff. And I will add a Word document with detailed directions on how to use each of the links provided in those games. Each link is for something different, so I will post specific directions on not to waste time but get to the point on how to use those sites. Okay, but that's not for now, but I will post that directions later as we get going. All right, so this is all for week 3.